we really look forward to your support and guidance with the portal, as well as all the activities around the portal that we will be performing through the coming months and the years ahead. We're going to start with the webinar where I'm going to take you through the portal. As and when you do have any doubts, any questions, please feel free to write them in the space for the questions and answers session, and I will address all the questions to the best of my ability towards the end of the entire portal run through. Post the webinar, we would also invite you to send us feedback for any changes or any suggestions that you might have to improvise on the portal per se, or anything that you would like to add. We would also invite you to send across any suggestions or share the information that the specific regions are, the initiatives that the specific regions are taking, to have for these startups and for the entrepreneurial ecosystem per se. So there are a lot of attendees joining in through while I'm speaking. We'll start with the webinar and then we'll let the attendees join in, and I'll address all the questions towards the end. Okay, so I would request all of you to open another tab where you could view the portal yourself. I'm going to screen share as well, and I hope you can now see my screen. If you can see the screen, just send in, a message saying that the screen is visible. Just say yes. Okay, brilliant. Can all of you see the screen? We have 15 attendees for now. Probably you need to log off and log in, Rajesh. If you're not getting any volume or any voice for now, you need to log off and log in again with the registered link. Okay, so I'm assuming that most of you are able to hear and see the screen as well. If you could open up a tab and type in startupscoalition.in, as you can see on my screen, that will take you to the portal that we're talking about today. Okay, so this is the home page, and we have a slider. The first of it says is a quote from Shri Narendra Modi, keeping in mind that they have an initiative for startups as well, with the Startup India initiative that they started with the BJP government. So in line with the same, we launched this portal, and we hope for it to be able to help all the stakeholder categories involved. If you scroll through the portal down, we have the SME Finance Facilitation Centre, which is a CII initiative, and I will come back to this in a while once we have discussed the stakeholder categories. If you keep scrolling down, we have a section for startup dialogues. So this is basically where we, as the admin for the portal, initiate a startup topic, which will be on a weekly or a fortnightly or a monthly basis, depending on the current news scenario on startups, and people can feel free to join in the dialogue. So, for example, right now, if you click on Join the Dialogue, this is the current topic which is displayed. There will be a few comments which people can keep adding on. So if somebody has any question, wants to put a comment, wants to interact, wants to learn more about the topic, or has any query, they will add a comment, and people who have information on the topic can feel free to answer back. The admin will also be able to moderate the discussion. So this is an ongoing thing which is visible and accessible to everyone. There's a featured video section here, which is the video for the particular month, which is the featured video. And if you click on the link here, sorry about that, it is not working for some reason right now because of the non-access of videos in the CII office. but it plays a video there. Because it opens up in YouTube and we do not have access right now, it probably is not opening up. If you scroll further down, we have a news feed section. This is the current news that we update from the startup arena on a daily basis. So any news that happens in the startup arena, any startups that are already existing, anything new regarding regulations, policies that have come up in the newspaper articles, we add these for a ready reference for anybody who wants to open the portal and see the ready news on startup ecosystem. Now, talking about the portal per se, we have 5 stakeholder categories. I'm just going to take you through this. Where my cursor is on the yellow box right now is the menu. If I click on that, there are different headings. If you go to connect, and you see 5 different categories there, these are the stakeholders that we are talking about for the portal. These different stakeholders are all welcome to register on the portal and these are the main people that we would be interacting with, we would want to help and grow the ecosystem of the startup community. So this is where exactly we were here, where we had startups, mentors, investors, incubators, and accelerators. And there's another category, which is the service providers. So I will take you through them one by one. This is the main home page, right? Now, let's go on Explore. The Explore section gives us information about, which is about the startup portal, what's happening, what it's going to do, what is the vision and the mission. I'm sorry about the cursor here. So basically what we do, what we aim to do, again about CII, which we all are aware of, and our team. We obviously give a special mention to our governing council and to the founding members as listed on the page. So it would be nice if you all could take some time after the webinar and go through the governing council as well as the founding members and have a look at how they're all involved in this initiative. Again, we go back to the menu and go to Explore, and we see news and updates. This is any current news that we again might have, which is specifically the articles that we mentioned on the home page. So these are again elaborated here for ready access for somebody who only wants the current news on the startups. Let's go to Explore again, and these are the upcoming events. Probably this has an empty page right now. We do not have any upcoming events, and that's where we all need to collaborate to look forward to holding and scheduling events for the coming months. So once an event is scheduled, it will show on this page, and we can invite all our stakeholder categories to from respective regions to attend the same. Okay, if you go to the next tab here, it says Connect. That's the entire objective of this portal. We are trying to connect all the stakeholders involved in the startup community. The first of them says Incubators and Accelerators. Let's click on Incubators and Accelerators. I will come to this in a while, which says filter by name, filter by sector, and so on. These are the incubators and accelerators who are currently registered on our portal, which is 32 of them. So these are the incubators who have already registered on the portal and would like to associate with us and help the startups who have registered again on the portal. You could click on View More, and the rest of the incubators will also be listed. So a total of 24 are listed at one time, and then when you click View More, all the others will also start coming up in batches of 24. Okay, apparently this has to be more, or maybe 12. Yeah, in batches of 12. Yeah, so they're listed in batches of 12. Okay, so these are the incubators and the accelerators. Now, this function will work to, if I have a name of an accelerator that I would like to view, let's say Kanan. So I put in the name, I type in the name Kanan, and I go, so it will give me the entry only for that particular incubator or accelerator. If there's somebody specific that I'm looking for on the site with respect to that particular category, it will be listed here, and I can filter the search just to see the details of that person. Now, if I want to go deeper into this particular person's profile, it will ask me to log in. That's where the registration comes into place. So anybody and everybody who has registered on the website can see what I showed you till now. But if they want to view a profile or they want to connect with any other stakeholder, they need to register and log in to the site to be able to connect. So for example, let's just try and log in. Okay, so now I'm logged in as XYZ person. Now if I click on Kanan, I'll be able to view the entire profile of that particular incubator accelerator. So once again, you can see whoever is registered on the site, but you cannot view the profile or you cannot connect with that stakeholder until unless you yourself are registered or registered and logged in on the portal. Now, if you go into that person's profile, you will see a brief summary of what he or she is doing, what the incubation center is doing, and whatever information they've typed in here. It tells you the organization that they belong to, what the organization does. This is a brief profile of the person himself who has registered with regard to that particular organization. These are the sectors of interest to them: the consumer services, consumer tech, education. So this basically means that these are the sectors of the startups that they are interested in incubating. They're interested in healthcare, in any startup which is starting up in healthcare, or any manufacturing startup, any social impact startup, and so on and so forth. So these are the interest sectors for this particular incubator. Now, he's also registered as a service provider, which says that they offer co-working spaces and shared offices. So that's pretty common with any incubator, where they offer shared offices to help a new startup find ready space to begin their operations. Now, there are different categories of investor types. So he is also registered as an investor. So this is an incubator as well as an investor as well as a service provider. If you look at the 5 categories, he's registered under 3 categories. I will take you through the registration process, which tells us that we can register in multi-stakeholder categories. So as an investor, he's registered as an angel fund. And again, as an investor, he's interested in investing in any of the startups in these particular sectors. Again, consumer services, consumer technology, education, and so on. They are looking at investing up to 50 lakh of rupees, and it's a part of investment fund. Okay, so let me just log out, and then what we'll do is create a profile for ourselves and see how the registration works. And then we will come back to this again and see the other stakeholder categories. Okay, is everyone clear up till now? Any particular doubts, any questions you would like to send? Am I still audible? Is the screen still visible? Yes, no, hand raise. Okay, Achit, you can type in your question and I will definitely answer that. Is everyone still able to hear me? Yes, yes. There probably might not be a recording for the webinar, so we might not be able to share that later, Brijesh. In case there is, we might be happy, we would be happy to share that. But if possible, it would be great if you could attend the same right now. Okay, yeah, so it gives you a list of service providers. Actually, to answer your question, will this portal also give a list of app developers? It will not give you a list of app developers, it will give you a list of service providers, which means anybody who has registered themselves in the category of a service provider. Let me show you that. So if you go into Connect and you see service providers and independent professionals, these are the people who already have their own organizations and are looking at offering services to the startups registering on the site. So, for example, there's Pramod Bakna, who is a managing director and has a smart head consulting. So, this is a consulting firm who's looking at offering consulting advice and other advices, maybe across financial sector as well, to the startups. Now, any app developer who has registered on the site and offering the service you will be able to see that particular list. You can again filter and probably write developers and see if there won't be a developer, there'll be an IT section, there'll be an IT sector service. Let me show you that. So if you look at IT services, let's click on IT, let's select IT services, and we do not have a name, we just want we want all the firms who are registered under IT services, and we say go. So all the firms who are registered, which we have right now, is about 36 of them. So there are 36 IT firms who are registered to offer their services to startups. Now you can read their profile, you can see if any of them are app developers, and you can connect with them, or you can ask your stakeholders to connect with them. Does that answer your question, Achut? Ajit, I'm not very clear about your question on recruitment, so probably you can type in and I'll come back to that later once I go through the registration process. So keep typing in your questions and I'll address them so that we don't falter on the flow of the portal. Let's just go through them and then I'll address all the questions towards the end. Okay, let's do a dummy registration so that it gets clear as to how we can ask somebody to register on our portal. Okay, so you click on login register. The username is my email ID, so I'm just going to put in my email ID there and any password. Oh, sorry. Since I'm already not registered, I have to register. Okay, so we go to register now. It'll ask me for my name, my first name, my last name, and my email. Once I say register, it will give me a pop-up that says that an email has been sent for the link. I need to click on that link to go further into the registration process. I say, okay. I go into my email, I check my email. And I wait for the email. Okay. So here comes an email from Startups Coalition and it says account verification. I go on that and I just have to click here to complete the registration process. So once any person who tries to register on the site will receive this email and you have to click on that particular link and it will open up the registration form for you. So this is the main form where somebody registers on the site. Again, my name and last name. I choose any password. It has to be I think it has to be a minimum of 8. Yeah, it has to be a minimum of 8 length and it should be alphanumeric. So let's do that. Okay. Now the contact number is not necessary. The LinkedIn profile is not necessary. So anything with the start is the mandatory fields and the others are not. A brief profile about me as an individual. This is the brief profile for the person who is registering. Now, there will be a separate section for the profile of the organization that he is registering from. So let's say this is my brief profile. And there is a limit of 2,000 characters on the profile. Now, under what category do I need to register? Am I an incubator? Am I an independent professional? So basically, independent professional is somebody who is neither of these categories of a startup or a service provider or investor or a mentor or incubator, but is somebody who's looking to connect with startups or is looking to offer their services in terms of a part-time or a full-time job opportunity or consulting. So basically, to get into the startup ecosystem, but they're not a startup themselves. So that is an independent professional. Now let's say I want to register as a startup. Now if I register as a startup, I can also be a service provider, which means that I already have a startup and it's already in the running phase. I already have a running company, so I can also offer my services. But why am I registering as a startup? Because maybe I need to scale up. So if I need to scale up, I need to connect with the investors, or maybe I need some advice. I need to connect with the mentors. So that's the reason why I am registering as a startup. But at the same time, I can also register as a service provider because I have a running firm and I can offer my services maybe to another startup or for somebody else to see what my startup does. So if let's register in both the categories. But before I move forward, let me show you one thing. So let's say if I don't register as a startup and I register as an investor. If I register as an investor, I cannot register as an independent professional. I can register as an incubator. I can register as a mentor, and I can register as a service provider. But I cannot register as a startup because if I'm an investor, I am not a startup, right? So I can be any of these categories, but not a startup or an independent professional because I'm looking at investing in a startup. Okay. Similarly, if I'm an incubator, I can be any of these, but I cannot be an independent professional and I cannot be a startup. I can be an investor, I can be a service provider, and I can be a mentor. If I'm registering as a mentor, again, I can be any of these, but I cannot be an independent professional because I'm not looking for a job opportunity here. I'm looking to advise and mentor the startups. I can still be an incubator. I might be an incubator, and I'm as a person, I'm willing to offer my mentorship advice and mentorship hours to a startup who needs advice. If I'm a mentor, I cannot be a startup. So typically, even though a startup has gone through the grilling of understanding how a startup works and facing the teething problems, we do not expect them to have reached a stage of 10-15 years of experience where they can mentor somebody else. So hence, a mentor cannot be a startup themselves. Like a startup could not be a mentor. Okay, I hope this is kind of clear. In case it is not, please put in your questions and I shall come to them. Okay, so let's register as a startup as well as a service provider. Once I say startup, it opens up a few headings below and I need to click the stage. So maybe I'm a startup who doesn't have a registered organization. It's something that I only have an idea. I just need to see whether the idea can be validated by somebody, whether I can receive some more advice from a mentor. I can connect with a mentor to receive an advice on whether I should take it forward or what is the way forward, which direction should I basically be looking at. So hence, I will select the concept stage where I do not have a registered organization. I do not have a website. I'm not into any industry yet. But I only have an idea in my mind and I want to interact and come into the startup ecosystem. Okay. Or I could be already where I have a prototype of a product, or I have a proof of concept, which means I've already run through the entire concept and the idea validation, and I'm now looking at basically just launching. Or at least I have a prototype if I'm looking into the manufacturing of the product or the typical tangible product in place. Then it is early customers, where I have already been in the startup arena. I have already started my organization and been running it for at least a year to 3 years. And then there is early growth, where is 2 years beyond. And then we are in the growth phase, where we're basically looking at scaling or maybe Series B funding. Early growth would be Series A, or would be connecting with angel investors. Same with early customers is again when you just started off, you're in the 6 month beyond period. You've already test the market. You're seeing how to get more procurement of customers for your particular service or product. So let's just register as a concept. And what is my sector of operation? Let's say my sector of operation is education. And what am I interested in? So I'm basically interested in connecting with who all on the portal. Since I'm a startup and I'm in a concept stage, I probably need advice from a mentor. So I'm interested in connecting with the mentors on the portal. So hence I click on the mentor. It'll ask me the mentor in which expertise. Do I need mentorship on, let's say, financials? Do I need mentorship on taxation? Do I need mentorship on strategy? Do I need mentorship on marketing or taking, how I can market my product? So, we can select either of the categories or all of the categories. So let's just select a couple of them and say okay. So it shows me the mentors that the sectors that I'm interested in to be mentored. Mentor location will give me all the locations span India. As of now, it's all all are selected and we just leave it at that. So we don't really mind where do we get the mentorship from across India, as long as we get the mentorship. Okay, so let's just say all. So basically you can choose any of this by clicking on edit, and you will get the list that tells you which sector to choose, which location to choose. Right now I selected all locations, so it's showing all. Now I also, because I'm a startup, I'm interested obviously in getting funding. I'm looking at interacting or connecting with the investor stakeholder category on the portal. Now, let's say my business requirement is beyond 50 lakhs, between 50 to 100 lakhs. So that is the option I'll select. We can multi-select. Maybe we're interested in more. So maybe if you're not sure how much you're looking at, it's just better to select all, so that you will get suggestions of investors who are looking at investing in across the parameters of the deal size. It could be up to 50 lakhs or beyond 50 lakhs and over 500 lakhs as well. Same for the investor location. We click on edit and we get investors who are across India. So it could be from any location in India, and we are okay with all. So let's just keep it as all. Let's go further down. Am I looking at an incubator? Do I need an accelerator to get into the startup phase? Do I need to get a ready office? Do I need an incubation program to help me get started, set my foot? If yes, then yes. I need to interact with incubators, and I can select, and I wish to connect with them as well. Again, we can select the location. We'll just choose it as all. Okay, now I am a startup, so I definitely need services like you mentioned. I want to connect with some developer. I want to see if I can get some IT services. I need some accountancy services. If I'm registering as a PLC, if I'm registering as an LLP, I will need to interact and get some advice from a CA, from a CS on how to proceed forward, and we can connect with service providers here. Now, again, it mentions under which category of service provider do you want. Now, let's say I want an accountant and I want IT services. We want a graphic artist, maybe to get our website up and running, or some other collaterals for marketing. We need some advice on communication and branding, so I can select that, and let's say okay. Okay, so we selected all those categories. Now remember, I selected myself to be registered as a startup as well as a service provider. I filled the section necessary for registering as a startup. Now, if I scroll down, it gives me the section for service provider. So let's say my startup is in a concept stage, but I know I'm looking at the education industry, and maybe I already have some training facilities that I would like to offer to somebody. So let's say I would select as a service provider, and what services am I offering? I'm offering training facilities. Let's say I'm training teachers. So I can select training, and that would register me as a service provider under training section, along with registering me as a startup in the education sector. Just to go back and let you know what we did. So here I registered as a startup in the concept stage, or maybe let's just change it to the early customer stage. Early customer stage in the education sector. Now you see, the moment I change it from the concept stage to the early customer stage, it opens up another section for me, which is the organization name details. Why? Because I'm already a registered startup. I'm already operating. It's not in the concept anymore. If I'm in a concept stage, it's not mandatory for me to have a website or a registered company yet. But if I'm already having an early customer stage, I would have an organization. So let's say the organization is ABC Education. My designation and the organization profile. If you remember again, if you scroll up, first we had a profile, the brief profile, where I wrote test profile. That is for the individual. This is Ritika Gupta's profile. And if you scroll down, this is the organization profile, which is ABC Education. So my organization is ABC Education, and I want to give a profile here, what we do. Okay. Now, even though I'm 95% of the cases, everybody would have a website, and that's where we would enter our URL. If you do not have one, then here we go, we just leave it blank. I can choose to give my state of operation. Let's say I'm operating in Assam, or I'm operating, maybe I just have one office yet, or one facility when I'm operating out of, or it could be multi. So I can just choose, or choose not to select any. Okay, we can leave it as well, we can select as well. If I have if I have a specific, only one state of operation and I cannot go beyond that, then I would select a specific state. So let's just select Delhi, Haryana, Chandigarh, and let's say Karnataka, Andhra. So basically, I already am operating in all these places. Okay. So these are my places of operation. I can choose to mention a city or just leave it blank. Now we are already filled in the section where I am interested in being connected with mentors and investors and service providers and incubators. So the rest of the form stays the same, but just keep in mind that when I put in concept, it does not give me an organization to enter. And if I change it from concept stage to even a proof of concept, it still gives me the organization that I need to enter. So let's keep it at early customers and let's go ahead. Now, once I fill in the form and everything is okay, I just click submit. And yeah, and now I'm registered, right? So once I register, this is my dashboard. This is where I can see myself. And I register, when I log into the portal, this is what I will see. This is my profile page. Hold on. It says what I enter my name as. I am the founder of the organization, which is ABC Education. This is my email. Now, this email is only visible to me and no other stakeholder on the entire portal. Nobody can see my email. It's only accessible to me. Only I can see my email. This is what I registered using this particular email. Okay, so this is all the information. Now it gives me an option which says also include me in, right? But in this case, we already included ourselves in startup and service provider. So this needs to actually, right, there's a glitch here. I should make a note of that and get this amended. It should not come here anymore. This is my organization details. This is my startup information. I am in the early customer phase. I am in the education sector. These are the key stakeholders. I entered myself as a founder. I'm interested in mentors. I'm interested in investors, incubators, service providers. Now it says pending for approval. What happens is once I send this, once I register as a startup, I am automatically registered on the site. But if I register under any other category, it has to be approved. See, now if I go here, it doesn't show me that I applied for a startup position, for a startup registration. Because if I register as a startup, I am already registered. Nobody needs to approve my application. But if I register under any other stakeholder category, the admin of the portal needs to approve my application. And let's say I select Ritika and I approve it. This is the admin panel. I'll come back to this later. We have to still take a call on, whether we will be having the admin rights accessible across the region, or if it'll stay with the owner of the portal. So we'll come back to that later. And this is where we signed in. Now let's just refresh and see the pending approval is now gone, because I already approved the registration as the admin for Ritika to be a service provider registrant on the site. So now I'm registered as a startup and a service provider on the portal. Okay, so now I'm already registered. Let's go to home. Now, this is my home page again, which is the same as the home page, which was without logging in, right? We can see the same newsfeed and everything. When I go here, it shows me my profile. If I click on this, we go back to where we were, where I can edit my profile. I can choose to edit my profile. This is the same page. Now, this little pen here allows me to edit any of the information that I can see listed here. I can choose to edit. Let's say add institute. So this is my personal data, my personal bio data, which says add institute, add degree, and I can choose to edit it. I put in the details here and I say save, and it will edit, and it will add the details on this. Okay. If I go to my feed, this is my dashboard. So this is what I am interested in seeing. This is my dashboard, right? I am registered as Ritika, as a founder for ABC Education. Now, here I can put in any subject, and I can leave a message for somebody to answer on. People can come back and answer on this. Let's say I want to get an information on startup. So whom do I need to post this? Maybe any other, maybe the startups who know, or maybe anybody else who would have information on this, you know. Or let's say if I am looking for services, let's say if I'm looking for any services, I could say any advice on website designing, or let's say any advice on app development. And who do I need to put this for? I can put it for startups, or I could even put it for service providers who might be able to connect me with somebody. Let's say I'll put it for startups, any other startups who've used the the services of the for app development. And since I'm looking, it doesn't really matter which sector I'm looking at, so let's just keep it at startups and say post. So it will post that particular message for me to get an answer or advice from. Now, if you see again, this is my dashboard. Now it has this article that was there on the front page. This is the first article, the newsfeed. Hansel raises $1.35 million. The same one appears on my dashboard. Now, if I read this article and I have some questions, I have some comments that I need to make, like we see on other dailies and other newspaper articles and stuff, like Times of India and Hindustan Times that we read, and we can always comment, leave a comment for the article or for the editor. Similarly, we can leave a comment here for people to comment on, to have a discussion on this subject. So this is kind of self-explanatory. We just leave a comment, somebody can comment further on it, and we can go on. These are all the news updates that were currently on the page. If you look here towards the right, it says suggested contact. Now, why it's saying suggested contact, because initially when I registered, I expressed my interest to be connected with various stakeholder categories, which was investors, incubators, as well as service providers and mentors. So it's basically giving me advice on whom I can connect with, who are probably interested in my sector of let's say education, because I am an education startup, and somebody wants to invest within the education arena. It would give me an advice on those people from an investor category. Then it would give me, I said I want service providers from marketing and communication. It will probably give me advice or suggested contacts from those people. So this is the list of suggested. Okay, let's click on this. Now, this is the person whose profile icon is under the suggested category. And I can view the profile. And if I wish, I could connect with him. Just 1 second there. Just 1 second, hold on. Okay, is my screen visible now? Okay, just to raise of hands again, please. Is the screen visible? Okay. Okay, so let's go ahead. So that was my dashboard where I can see information on who are my suggested contacts, apart from everybody else who's obviously registered on the site, and I can choose to comment on the articles. I can go in and change a password, and I can change my profile, as you already saw. Let's go to the let's get back to the connect section. Now I'm already logged in and registered as one of the stakeholder categories, and I can choose to connect with any of the stakeholders. Let's go into mentors. So at this point in time on the website, we have about 118 registered mentors, which is a fantabulous number, because these are all the people who are willing to help the startups across the regions, and who have shown an interest in associating with our initiative. So we can go and view their profile in detail. Now, as a startup, when I want to connect with that particular person, I go and see the profile, and I see probably he's interested in associating and helping startups in my arena, which is education, and he is an investor as well. I can go and leave a message for him. So I click on this leave a message. I type in my message, give a subject, whatever my interest is in terms of interacting with him, and leave a message for him. When I click send, an email will automatically go to Mr. Krishna. I will not be able to see his email, but an email automatically is going on his registered email ID, and he can choose to connect back with you by sending you a message. Similarly, just the way that you sent him a message. So hence this is a very interactive portal. If somebody really wants to connect with any of the stakeholders, they can use this leave a message option, and they can initiate the connection, initiate any conversation of interest to them, and the registered members will connect with them. Let's say again, if I go to connect and I want to connect with any service provider, again, we can always filter from the section. If I have a name that I'm looking at, specifically an organization or service provider, I can put in the name, like let's say we put in ABC Education, that was what we registered as, but that is me, so probably it will just give me back my data. Okay, it doesn't, because I am registered as myself, and it will not give me back my data. But if there's any other organization that I need to connect with, and I know the name, I can connect. Otherwise, these are all the service providers. Let's say I go on this Yashpal Singh, and I want to get some advice. Again, I see his profile. He has an experience of about 12 years. He's also registered as an independent professional, which means that he's willing to help or associate with a startup for some part-time opportunities, which is where it answers your question, just 1 second. I think there is some glitch here. I just need to sort that out. Okay, yeah. So if it just answers your question whether the startups can hire somebody or not. So this is where the independent professional category comes into the question. The independent professionals are somebody who are professionals and are looking for opportunities to connect with startups to offer their services as an individual, not as an organization. Not that they're offering any service provisions, but they are just offering their themselves or to be hired on a contractual basis or as a consultant or as a part-time opportunities. So I hope that answers your question, Achyut. In case not, please leave a message again. Okay, cool. So that was the connect section. Now this is the main connect section where all the stakeholder categories can connect with each other. That leave a message is really nice and important, where basically somebody can leave a message and initiate the connection. Now how this portal helps further is with the Knowledge Hub. So the Knowledge Hub is basically a hub where we get all the information on startups, which range from PowerPoint presentations to press releases, any webinars that are being conducted, which will be conducted in the coming months. So you need to keep an eye out for that. These are the press clippings for any startup information. Again, any news, any startups been in the news. And these are publications or any specific research papers on startups. If somebody is looking for any specific information on, let's say, manufacturing sector and wants to start a startup in the manufacturing industry, they could see if there is any latest information, any latest report published in this particular sector. For example, here it says serving India's digital consumer. These are specific reports that are either prepared by CII in collaboration with the other research organizations. Okay, so this startup resources are the articles and videos that are specifically made for the startup portal. So these are only specific to the portal, which have been devised to give information for the startups on specific categories, like how to write a business plan, which is again at the concept stage, a short guide to the life stages of a startup. If I click on that, you will get specific information and article specifically telling you on that particular aspect of life stages of a startup. There are subdivisions on this, and if I go further down, it gives me, let's say, idea validation. Now this specific article is relevant only for idea validation and has been prepared specifically only for the portal. So this information is not available outside and is only available on this portal. But if you go on this section, startup articles, these are the articles which have been pulled out from the My CII Knowledge Hub. So whatever is related to the startups arena on the My CII resources is exactly what is pulled in here. So this might be a repetition for some of you who have already seen those articles in the Knowledge Hub on My CII. But these articles, which is the startup resources, are entirely new, which are only on the portal. Now, even the online videos and everything, most of them have been pulled out from the Knowledge Hub, which are relevant for the startup arena. This video section that you see here is again only for the portal. If you go to this online videos here, this is from the Knowledge Hub, but relevant to the startup sector. But the specific section here for videos is only for the portal specifically, and it has a slider which gives you a lot of videos. These are little short trailer videos which give you insight on what to do, how to do, quick advice, tips and information on startups and various resources for it. So in your free time, you can probably scroll through these and see some of the videos if possible. They'll give you a quick insight into startup industry per se. Okay, so that's the Knowledge Hub. Now we have a section for women entrepreneurs. If I click on that, it basically opens up a page which tells me to connect, which tells me that I can go into the CII Indian Network Women Network portal. So I just click this and it takes me to the Indian Women Network. This is where we are connected. Right now, we do not have any resources to put it onto the women entrepreneur section, and we're basically hoping that we get some women entrepreneurs or women startups on the site register, and we can then publish their success stories. Okay, back to the menu. If I go on to Startup Live, this is basically a standalone page which gives us the life stages of a startup. So this is informative for somebody who is a startup and wants to see exactly what kind of stages will he be going into. Once he has a concept and he needs funding, whether he needs advice on how to set up a PLC or how to set up accountancy services, get auditing. So these are the various stages, and it's a life cycle. It just keeps giving me. So I'm from the idea generation stage, then I go further down, idea selection, how I can validate my idea evaluation, and so on and so forth. So this is just an informative page. Then we have a policy impact page, because that is one of the main prime motives of CII, which is connecting industry with the government. So we typically want to see what problems do startups face, and then understanding the problems and connecting them with the industry to get a policy or a regulation or a rule passed out, so that it becomes easier for the startups and for the ecosystem to grow in general. So this is the policy impact section, where we already have certain policy documents relevant to the startups. So some of these have been prepared specifically for the portal, and some of them are a resource from our original already known resources, because CII keeps taking a lot of initiatives, as you all know, and some of these documents have already been looked into and prepared from those earlier meetings and conferences. So these are helpful resources for any stakeholder across the portal, which could be from a startup to or even a mentor. Let's say a mentor needs some information on current scenario in the startup ecosystem, or how does the startup ecosystem basically work, and how can I connect with them so they can read these policy snapshots of the startup ecosystem, or they can access various other articles in the Knowledge Hub. So all in all, it's a pretty useful portal for connecting all the stakeholders which are involved in the startup ecosystem. And that's where we need to come in and take this initiative further to help these startups, to be able to launch themselves rather than facing or trying to reinvent the wheel all over again. Because everybody has to go through the same phase, and somebody else has already done that. So we need to connect them to the right resources, and this is where our portal should make a difference in connecting the various startups, connecting the investors with the correct startups, and getting the right advice from mentors who've already been there, done that in the industry for like over 15 years, 20 years, have abundance of knowledge, and can advise the startups in the right way. And as we've seen, the mentorship really makes a difference to the startups. So, we would really urge you guys also to get mentors from your regions to connect on the portal, so that they can connect with the startups in their specific areas of interest, and can take out some time to advise these emerging startups and help them not face the same issues that probably somebody else did a couple of years ago, a year ago, or maybe something that is already happening in Brazil is not happening again. If something is happening in Brazil, we don't need to reinvent the wheel. We can basically connect that person via some connect, maybe in Brazil, and get information on how to develop the same thing for India. So even on a macro level, this is pretty helpful because the mentors have vast experience and can connect with the right resources. Okay, so that basically covers most of what we have on the menu. And remember, I mentioned in the beginning, we have the SME Facilitation Center with the NCII. So that is for sending in a loan request. Let's go on to the home page. So here, if I click on that, it'll ask me for some details, and this message goes to the Facilitation Center where I can connect with them, and I want to get a loan sanction or I want some investment. So because I'm already registered as Ritika and my profile is already registered on the website, when I just click on Facilitation Center, it sends a message to the Facilitation Center saying that I'm interested in a loan category. So that's why it says you have subscribed successfully, which means my message has already gone to them, and I say okay. So somebody from the Facilitation Center will now connect with me and ask me for my requirements for my particular startup. Okay, so that's most of it. In the coming few days, we will have a few social media tags on this as well, which we, for somebody to be able to see us on Facebook or Twitter as well. And that's mostly about it. So in case you do have any questions, do let me know, and I'll be happy to answer those. I hope the information is pretty helpful and you will be able to go back to the portal and use it and connect, have your the people that you know be able to connect on the portal. Okay, so let's open the floor for questions, if any.